Well, hello everyone. I'm Russell Ray with Oklahoma CareerTech, and welcome to CareerTech Conversations. On this podcast, we talk about the many ways CareerTech is breaking down silos in education and how we're working with business and industry to develop the state's workforce and closing the skills gap through technical education. Our topic today is OkPTAC and how this long-standing CareerTech program is helping businesses find new opportunities. And here to guide us through our discussion today is Carter Merkle. Carter, thanks so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure.
It's good to have you here. Now, OkPTAC stands for Oklahoma Procurement Technical Assistance Center. That's a mouthful.
Yes. That's why we call it OkPTAC.
And you have been the program manager for OkPTAC for the last 20 years now. Why don't you start us off by describing the mission and the objective of OkPTAC, how it's funded, and how long this program has been around?
Okay. The OkPTAC, essentially all of the PTACs around the country have the mission of helping businesses sell to government agencies, whether federal, state, or local agencies. And in so doing, it's an economic development tool. By making businesses more profitable, we grow the economy. And I always like to think about the different stakeholders. The federal government, parts of the federal government see us as the tool to help make their vendors more competitive, more qualified, and just overall more efficient. The state, of course, sees us as economic development, business development, and the local technology center sees us as an excellent service to their local constituents. So everybody, it all comes down to economic development.
Mm-hmm. It's really about exploring and creating new opportunities for businesses and showing them how to explore and create those opportunities. Am I right on that? It's basically about connecting them.
But our program from the beginning was set up to stay with them. We help them prepare to compete, we help them compete, and we help them perform the contracts after they've won them, all the way through closeout, when a contract's done. So we are there for whatever they need. Most often that may be getting through some of the red tape involved in government work. But it also may be helping explain a particularly complicated letter from the government agency saying you need to comply with this or that, and helping them find the exact regulation they need to brush up on. Maybe helping them find training that they need, safety training, quality programs training, anything that they need to better themselves in going after government contracting.
Getting through the red tape, and as you said, the complexity of this is very challenging, and that's where you come in and show them the way.
Yes, it can be, and that's, I think, back in the mid-'80s when Congress was presented this idea, they saw it, they could see the numbers that smaller businesses were being driven out of the supply chain because it was just a lot. You'd almost have to hire an expert yourself, and that was not doable on a small budget. So they set up these programs so that they could have experts all over the country for companies to come to and say, help us along, hold our hand through this until we learn it. And that's exactly what we do. We got it, and CareerTech got into the program from the beginning. I think we stood up some of the first centers in the country back in 1986, and we have been doing it ever since at various numbers of tech centers as tech centers join or leave the program. But I came on in 2002, so there had been already quite a lot of history before I stepped into the program.
It's been around since 1986. Can you talk a little bit about, this is a really important program. How is this program funded? OkPTAC.
Okay, it starts with that federal grant opportunity every year. They put it out to eligible entities, which may be state agencies, it may be local economic development groups, or quite often universities with industry programs. And they have to match the federal funds. The percentage varies, but they have to match the federal funds. And in our case, in a limited number of PTAC's case, we so to speak, subcontract. Grants is called subaward, so that the performance is actually done at the local level, at the local technology center. So we manage the grant at the state agency and then offer the program to the technology centers. And then they put in their own funds. So we're actually funded at 3 levels of government, which gives us a very solid program as compared to many PTACs around the country.
Yeah. Now, you have a long list of services and types of assistance that you can provide to businesses. Can you give us a little detail about some of the services you provide to Oklahoma businesses?
Sure. We get involved wherever the company needs us when they come to us, when they discover us. Sometimes that's when they're just considering. It's usually when they're considering federal work. They oftentimes have been doing other local government work, or sometimes they've been exclusively commercial work, and they want to expand their markets. And so they're looking at the federal agencies and asking, what do they buy? How do I sell to them? And somebody says, you need to talk to your local PTAC. So they come to us, we assess where they are. If they aren't already in the government's system for award management, we walk them through that process. If they have certain advantages, like they're woman-owned, veteran-owned, minority-owned business, we explain those programs. We assess whether they have potential to be in a program or multiple programs. And then we walk them through the application processes involved in that, so that we can make them as competitive as possible. And at the same time, we start introducing them to some opportunities, usually start small, some of the smaller contracts, maybe even sometimes introduce them to a prime contractor who can hire them as a sub. But it's all different at every company. And so we assess and we try to close the gaps in what they need.
Every company is different, as you said. You can help them out. The list is very long. You can help them out with, for example, if they have staffing issues, you can help them out with staffing, correct?
Yes. In a sense, anything that might interrupt their contracts, like if even before they got a contract, we might help direct them to resources. But if they have a contract, I knew of a case, it's been many years ago, where a company was basically a woman and her husband. And he was the creative side and she was the business side. And they were performing this contract of a graphic arts company, performing a contract for a federal agency. And right in the middle of it, he dies.
Oh, my.
And if you are not a creative arts person, you understand very quickly.
He was the creator.
He was the creator.
Okay.
And she was over a barrel, and she came to her PTAC counselor, and they started. I mean, we have a lot of contacts because we're within CareerTech, and so she started scrambling and talking to people and asking, is there a graphics artist who could step in and help her finish this contract? Otherwise, she would have to walk away, and she'd probably never get another federal contract. So at least this gave her the ability to make the decision if she wanted to continue the business or not, but do so without the damage of a federal agency coming and hammering at their door, demanding restitution. So we were able to resolve that by finding her someone who could finish the contract for her.
That's a great story and really a perfect example of all the things that OkPTAC can do for businesses.
Exactly, and we do enjoy the advantage over many PTACs in that we do exist in a larger universe of the CareerTech system. We have safety trainers, sometimes next door to our offices. We have all kinds of business people who can put together training on accounting. Some people come to us and they're still keeping their books on spreadsheets. And so, we can help them through those hurdles to get systems and skills in place where the federal government will actually talk to them.
I see. I see. You mentioned that people can reach out to the local PTAC office. Can you talk a little bit about your presence across the state? How and where can businesses reach out for help?
Absolutely. We long time ago we made a special URL, so no matter where we existed in the CareerTech website, you can go to okbid.org, and it would resolve over to our website. There we have a link that says OkPTAC coordinators, and that takes to a page of whoever our current schools, participating schools, and their counselors, their procurement counselors, and all of their contact information. So a person can self-serve by going there and decide who they want to deal with and contact that person directly. They can call our office, and we will, first question out of our mouths may be, where do you exist? Where's your business? And we'll get them to someone local. And these days, we help people remotely a lot as well, because all during 2020, of course, we were all working from home, and so people would call us. We'd get on some kind of a video communication tool, and we'd share our screens, and we could walk them through things as if we were standing over their shoulders.
So where people can start is go to www.okbid.org, and at some point we'll flash that on our screen here. You just shared a great story just now, a great anecdote about the type of clients that you serve. Tell us more a little bit about that. Who are your clients? Can you give us some more examples and some success stories that stand out?
Yeah, we help a broad variety of businesses. Of course, in Oklahoma, a lot of companies are related to construction one way or the other. So we help general contractors, we help trades companies, we help trucking companies, and all kinds of related companies, both road work and building construction. We help a lot of manufacturers. The federal government buys a lot of parts. You can imagine aircraft, ships, land vehicles. We also service a lot of what I would call distributors, who will buy for the government and package, ship, and send to them. So there are people who've made their entire business off of discovering what the government needs, going out and finding it, and selling it to them. And professional services. We help a lot of environmental services companies, a lot of architects. It's hard to imagine any company that can't, if they want to, pursue business with the federal, state, or local government.
Can you quantify off the top of your head how many businesses you've served over the years? Is there any way to do that?
Over the years, I probably couldn't. We run usually a little over 1,000 active clients every year.
Really?
And we have a turnover of about 500. So
I see.
We have a lot of churn.
Wow.
We, companies either stop using us because they decided they no longer, or they just use us as needed. They stop using us for a while because they're happy with the contracts they've got and they're not pursuing more. Or maybe they go out of business. I mean, a lot of businesses fail over the years.
Those are a lot of businesses. How much help do you have across the state? You have a certain number of counselors, correct?
Yes, we fluctuate a little bit each year, but we have had in the last few years about a dozen counselors in about 10 different technology centers. Now, recently we had another technology jump in. And so we will have 11 centers and 13 counselors. And because 2 of them have 2 counselors, they felt like the marketplace. Tulsa Tech covered a metro area, but there's only 1 technology center there. So they wanted 2 counselors, and both have been going gung-ho. And then Indian Capital has a very fast-growing area in the upper portion of their district, basically Southeast Tulsa, and they put good use to counselors there. So,
Well, Well, it sounds like you got a lot of help, some good help as well. Now I mentioned that you have been the program manager for OkPTAC for the last 20 years. You've seen a lot of change over the years. I think you joined the program in 2003. 2002, that's right. How has the program evolved over that time? There's been a lot of changes in technologies and processes. How has it changed over the years?
Well, the number one change is oversight. And I think everybody in government would say oversight has increased in the last 2 decades. We taxpayers have demanded it, and all levels of government have responded by giving more oversight on the programs that they run. We have seen, I mean, other than that, the main shift, the purpose has not changed. The main shift has been changes in the mix of money. The federal money usually goes up. I've not seen too many years it's gone down because DOD increasingly, our money comes through DOD. Increasingly, they put us to more and more use. They need vendors who can keep up with the increasing number of requirements, like cybersecurity is the latest one, but marking products with a universal marking. A lot of parts required that, and that took certain skills. And RFID, radio frequency identification. The government had a terrible time keeping up with their inventory. Once they bought stuff, it'd just go into warehouses. Well, RFID they implemented that, and they were able to better track where everything was. And so a lot of vendors had to learn, how do you do that? How do you put something on a box and put another marker on a pallet? So all those things roll out, and new technologies like online invoicing and payment, and so they can address the large companies like the Lockheed Martins and all. But it's hard for them to get down to the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of small businesses and train them on this new technology. So they train us, and we go out and train the businesses.
I see. Now you have a big event coming up in August.
Yes.
It's called the ICBS Show. It's August 15th through the 18th at the Embassy Suites Hotel in Norman. Can you tell us a little bit about the ICBS Show? This is essentially a place where businesses can connect with government representatives. Is that correct?
Yes. We call it matchmaking. It's not really dating, but it's similar. But it is something that got started a long time ago, where you bring in a potential buyer and you bring in a potential seller, and they introduce themselves and what their company does. And it just gives them a foot in the door to be able to make further contacts down the road. Well, I'd done some conferences as e-commerce was being developed in the state, and so I saw the benefit of just businesses networking, and I wanted to do that with our program. And our sister program, which is a Native American focused PTAC out of Norman, TGI, also was wanting to get into events, and so we partnered up back in 2000. I think 2007 was our first actual event, and we started producing an event every year, and we've done it every year since then. But the first day, we bring updated information about government contracting, and a lot of networking over the lunchtime and that kind of thing, and a trade show, an exhibitor hall. Then the second day, we start off with a general session, but then about 10 o'clock, we go into these one-on-one meetings, and businesses come in, meet the agency people there. Once in a while, and lately it's been more so, meet some primes that are looking for subs. And they introduce their business, what their capabilities are, and basically exchange business cards, so to speak. We call it capability statement because it's a little bigger than a card. And so that they can get back together. And some of our best success stories have been from that event.
I was going to ask, have you, this is a place where people are supposed to be connecting.
Yes.
Are people seeing the businesses that go to this event, are they experiencing good results from participating?
Yes. It's like most trade shows, you're probably not going to get a sale on the spot.
Yeah.
but you open a door, and whether it's 6 months or a year later or whatever,
it turns into something.
It turns into something, and
Yeah.
that's what happened several years ago. Duncan Machine Products, they knew that BAE Systems was coming to our ICBS, but they couldn't get anyone away to attend. And their procurement counselor at the time, Dana Harwell at Red River, was going to be there, of course, because we were all there. And so she made contact with BAE and got some exchanged some contact information and took it back to them. And maybe, I think it was 6 months to 9 months later, they got a call and said, can you rework some products that are coming in for building this tank that we're doing down in Elgin? After that, they turned around so quickly, they were so good at it, that they did a whole series of contracts throughout that whole project that really changed their business from an oil field work solely to a real diversified base. They grew their business. They moved into a new shop. They have a very active business down there in Duncan today, and it's because they diversified their business base.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping we have a lot of businesses listening to us right now. For those businesses, where do you go to register and learn more about this event?
Well, that's also the web.
Yep.
We set up www.icbsshow.com.
Yep.
And we keep any updated information there about the agenda, the speakers, the registration button is there. And if you are going to be an attendee or an exhibitor, you can certainly register right through that registration button. If you ever want to be a sponsor, you do have to call our office because that's a little more complicated, and we set those up manually.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about why OkPTAC is so important to Oklahoma. Describe for me the demand for the services that OkPTAC provides. Okay.
It's a little bit different in that whereas most of CareerTech works with employees and improves their skills and thus make the business better by giving employees new skills, we work with the owners and salespeople to make their marketing better, more focused, prepare their message, prepare their capabilities. And so we're really focused on getting them more business, growing their business, so that their need for more employees and more different training grows as well. But we're kind of on that front edge of finding new sales, finding new customers, and growing their business. And a lot of businesses, that's exactly where they need help because they got into business with one or two companies, one or two customers in mind, and that carried them for a dozen years or so. But they realize it's stagnating, that the customer could go away at any time, and now they want to expand, and they want to at least expand, diversify their customer base. And sometimes they've decided they want to grow the business and become a much larger business. So that's where we step in.
Yeah. Well, Carter, thank you so much for being here today. You've shared with us a lot of great information about a very important program, OkPTAC. I've learned a lot. I think our listeners have learned a lot as well. So thanks again for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you.
For more information about OkPTAC and other CareerTech programs, visit the Oklahoma CareerTech website at okcareertech.org. And don't forget to follow us. Follow Oklahoma CareerTech on social media. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in. We hope you'll join us soon for our next episode of CareerTech Conversations. For Oklahoma CareerTech, I'm Russell Ray.